are
They called
lazy,
him
a
lazy,
complete
every
disappointment.
teacher,
Look
every
at me when
report
I'm talking
card,
to you.
every
I won't
parent-teacher
tolerate this
conference.
laziness.
The same word followed Marcus Webb through school like a shadow he couldn't shake. While other students received criticism that at least implied potential, unfocused, distracted, could try harder, Marcus got the one word that felt like a final verdict: lazy. His third-grade teacher, Mrs. Patterson, wrote it in red pen across his progress report. His seventh-grade science teacher said it to his face. By high school, even Marcus had started to believe it. But they were all wrong. And in the most ironic twist imaginable, the very teachers who'd labeled him would one day depend on the software he created just to do their jobs. This is a story of how the lazy kid built the tool that changed education forever.
His grades
Marcus
are slipping.
was
He needs
11
to
years
focus.
old when he
I'm
first
trying.
heard the word
He
that
is
would
trying. It's
define
been a
his
tough time.
childhood.
Effort isn't
Your
enough.
son is lazy. His fifth-grade teacher, Mr. Harrison, sat across from Marcus's mother in the two small chairs of room 108, gesturing at a folder full of incomplete assignments. Marcus sat between them. Slouched so low in his chair he was practically horizontal, studying the scuff marks on his sneakers. He has all the capability in the world, and continued, his voice carrying that particular tone of disappointment teachers reserve for wasted potential. He just doesn't apply himself. Classic lazy student syndrome. Marcus's mother, a single mom working 2 jobs to keep their small apartment, looked at her son with exhausted frustration. "Marcus, is this true? You're not doing your work." "I do some of it," Marcus mumbled. "Some isn't enough." Mr. Harrison tapped the folder. He turns in maybe 30% of assignments. 30%. And when he does turn something in, it's rushed, sloppy, clearly done 5 minutes before class. What Mr. Harrison didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Marcus had spent the previous night helping his mother sort and file medical bills until 1 a.m., that he'd woken up at 6 a.m. to make breakfast for his youngest sister before the bus came, that the homework he forgot was buried somewhere in his backpack, incomplete because he'd fallen asleep at 10 p.m. with his pencil still in his hand and a history worksheet still blank. But Marcus didn't say any of this. He'd learned that explanations sounded like excuses, and excuses made adults angrier. "I'll try harder," he said instead. "You need to do more than try," his mother said quietly. "I worked too hard for you to waste your education being lazy." There it was again. That word. It settled into Marcus's chest like a stone. The pattern continued through middle school. Marcus was lazy in English because he didn't read the assigned books. Never mind that he read science fiction novels under his desk with a flashlight until 2 a.m. He was lazy in math because he didn't show his work. Never mind that he could solve most problems in his head and found writing out each step mind-numbingly tedious. If you just apply yourself, his 8th-grade advisor told him, you could be an A student. But Marcus had stopped believing that. Lazy people didn't become students. Lazy people became, well, whatever Marcus was destined to become. Everything changed the summer before high school, when Marcus's mother brought home an old computer from her office. They were throwing it out, she explained, setting the bulky desktop on the kitchen table. "I thought maybe you could use it for schoolwork." Marcus had used computers at school and the library, but this was different. This was his. That first night, he stayed up until 4 a.m. exploring every folder, every program, every hidden corner of the operating system. He discovered a simple programming tutorial in one of the help menus and followed it step by step, creating his first program, a calculator that could only add and subtract. It was the ugliest, most basic thing imaginable. Marcus stared at it for 20 minutes straight, his heart pounding. He'd made something. Out of nothing but logic and text, he created something that worked. For the first time in his life, Marcus didn't feel lazy. He felt electric. By freshman year, Marcus had taught himself 3 programming languages through free online tutorials and library books. While his homework sat untouched, he spent hours building small programs, a to-do list app, a simple game, a program that could organize files by date. His grades didn't improve. If anything, they got worse. Marcus has tremendous potential but lacks follow-through, his freshman English teacher wrote on his report card. Doesn't complete assignments, his biology teacher noted. Lazy and unmotivated, his math teacher summarized. Meanwhile, in the back of math class, Marcus was coding on a graphing calculator he'd reprogrammed to run Python. He'd figured out how to make it solve quadratic equations, graph functions, even play a primitive version of Snake. Mr. Webb, his math teacher, Mrs. Chen, appeared beside his desk. "Are you even paying attention?" "Yes," Marcus lied, closing the calculator. "Then perhaps you can explain to the class how to solve the equation on the board." Marcus glanced at the board. It was a complex algebraic equation that the class had been working through for 15 minutes. "X equals -7, he said. Mrs. Chen frowned. "Show your work." "I did it in my head." "That's not how math works. You need to show the steps." "But I know the answer is." "Showing your work is part of the assignment, Marcus. This is exactly what I mean about you being lazy. You take shortcuts instead of doing things properly." Marcus said nothing. He'd solved the equation correctly in approximately 8 seconds, using a method he'd taught himself. But that didn't matter. What mattered was that he hadn't followed the prescribed process. That night, frustrated and unable to sleep, Marcus started coding something new. A program that would automatically show the steps for solving algebra problems. Not just give the answer, but break down each operation, each transformation, each logical move from problem to solution. He called it MathPath. It took him 3 weeks to build the first version. He never showed it to Mrs. Chen. Junior year, Marcus took Computer Science I, the first time he'd actually enjoyed a class in years. His teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, was young, energetic, and actually excited about technology. "This kid," Mr. Rodriguez told the principal, "is gifted. He's already beyond what I'm teaching. He should be an AP." The principal checked Marcus's transcript and frowned. His GPA is 2.1. He's failing English and barely passing history. Gifted students don't have grades like this. He's lazy in other subjects, the guidance counselor added. Doesn't apply himself. Mr. Rodriguez tried to argue, but the data was against him. Marcus remained in Computer Science I, bored and unchallenged, building increasingly complex programs on his own while his official coursework felt like teaching him to count when he'd already learned calculus. One day, Mr. Rodriguez pulled him aside after class. "Why don't you try harder in your other classes?" he asked, genuinely curious rather than accusatory. Marcus shrugged. "What's the point?" "College. Career. Future. Pick one." "I'm not going to college." Marcus said it with the flat certainty of someone who'd done the math. His mother was already drowning in bills. His sister needed braces. College was a fantasy for people with different lives. "So what's your plan?" "I don't know. Get a job, I guess." Mr. Rodriguez looked at him for a long moment. "You're better than that." "Tell that to my transcript," Marcus said, and walked out. That weekend, Marcus was helping his mother organize her work files. She brought home months of paperwork to catch up on. As a teacher's aide at an elementary school, she had to track attendance, grades, behavior reports, parent communications, and a dozen other data points for 60 students. "This is insane," Marcus muttered, watching her flip through 3 different binders trying to find one student's reading level. "Tell me about it," his mother sighed. "The district gave us software that's supposed to help, but it crashes constantly and doesn't sync between computers. I spend more time fighting with technology than actually teaching." Marcus watched her struggle for another 10 minutes, then went to his room and opened his laptop. If there was one thing Marcus understood, it was inefficient systems. And if there was one thing he could do, it was fix them. He called it EduTrack. For 6 months, Marcus barely slept. He coded through lunch periods, through weekends, through nights when he should have been doing homework for classes he was now actively failing. He taught himself database design, user interface principles, cloud storage systems, and security protocols. EduTrack was simple in concept, a single platform where teachers could track everything about their students. Attendance, grades, behavior, assignments, parent communications, IEP accommodations, testing data, all in one place, accessible from any device, automatically synced and backed up. But Marcus didn't just want it to store data. He wanted it to be useful. So he built an analytics that could identify struggling students before they failed, automated parent notifications, integration with grading systems, Even a feature that could suggest intervention strategies based on patterns in student performance. His mother was his first beta tester. Marcus, she breathed, clicking through the interface on her phone. This is incredible. This would save me hours every week. Does it actually work, though? Like, is it useful? Useful. She laughed. Baby, this is what every teacher I know needs. Where did you learn to build something like this? Marcus shrugged. Internet, mostly. You know what makes this really special. His mother looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Whoever built this actually understands what teachers need. They get it. Marcus felt something warm expand in his chest. Thanks, Mom. His mother showed EduTrack to 3 colleagues. They showed it to 5 more. Within 2 weeks, 12 teachers in her school were using it. Within a month, teachers from 3 other schools had requested access. Marcus's phone buzzed constantly with feature requests, bug reports, and enthusiastic testimonials. He fixed bugs, added features, and upgraded servers using money he made from a part-time job at a pizza place. Meanwhile, his GPA dropped to 1.8. He was on track to not graduate. The meeting was inevitable. Marcus sat in the principal's office. Principal Watkins, the same man who denied him AP Computer Science, flanked by his mother and the guidance counselor, Ms. Park. Marcus, you're in danger of not graduating, Principal Watkins said gravely. You're failing 3 classes. Your attendance is spotty. Your teachers report you're constantly on your phone or laptop during class. I'm working, Marcus said. Working on what? Ms. Park asked. Marcus, we want to help you, but you have to meet us halfway. Marcus's mother squeezed his hand. Tell them. He took a breath. I built software. For teachers. It helps them track student data and... Marcus, Principal Watkins interrupted. That's wonderful that you have a hobby, but it can't come at the expense of your education. It's not a hobby. There are almost 200 teachers using it now across 6 schools. The room went silent. What? Ms. Park said. Marcus pulled out his laptop and opened the dashboard. It's called EduTrack. It's a student information management system. Teachers use it to track grades, attendance, behavior, parent communication. He clicked through screens, showing the clean interface, the analytics dashboards, the automated features. Principal Watkins leaned forward, squinting at the screen. You built this? Yes. By yourself? Yes. How? Marcus shrugged. YouTube tutorials, Stack Overflow, trial and error. Ms. Park was scrolling through the feature list on Marcus's screen, her expression shifting from skepticism to shock. Marcus, this is actually sophisticated. This is like what districts pay tens of thousands of dollars for. I know. That's why I made it free. Free? Principal Watkins said sharply. You're not charging anything. Teachers don't have money. I just wanted to help. Marcus's mother spoke up, her voice fierce with pride. Show them the testimonials. Marcus clicked to a folder full of emails. EduTrack has changed my life. I'm spending more time teaching and less time on paperwork. I identified 3 struggling students I would have missed without your analytics feature. Thank you. This is better than the $40,000 system our district bought last year. Principal Watkins read in silence, then sat back in his chair. Why didn't you tell anyone about this? Would you have believed me? Marcus asked quietly. You all think I'm lazy. The words hung in the air like an accusation. The meeting ended differently than anyone expected. Instead of a punishment, Principal Watkins made a phone call to the district superintendent. Instead of detention, Marcus got a meeting with the district's technology director. Within a week, the district was piloting EduTrack in 5 schools. Within a month, they wanted to purchase a license for the entire district. We're prepared to offer you $200,000 for the rights to the software, the district's lawyer said in a conference room that smelled of coffee and whiteboard markers. Marcus, 17 years old and wearing his only dress shirt, stared at her. What? $200,000 for full rights, plus royalties if we license it to other districts. His mother gripped his hand under the table. Marcus's mind raced. That money could change everything. Pay off his mother's debts. Send his sister to college. Maybe even send him to college. But it could also change nothing about who he was in the eyes of his teachers. I have a counteroffer, Marcus said slowly. The lawyer raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. I'll give you the software for free. Completely free, forever, for any school that wants it. But I want something in return. What's that? I want my teachers, all of them, to sign letters of recommendation for college. And I want you to explain to them what I built and why it matters. His mother inhaled sharply. Marcus. I don't want their money if they still think I'm lazy, Marcus said, looking at the lawyer but speaking to everyone who'd ever written him off. I want them to know they were wrong. The district agreed. A month later, Marcus sat in an assembly where Principal Watkins announced that the district was adopting EduTrack system-wide, that it had been built by one of their own students. That Marcus Webb had created something that would impact thousands of students and hundreds of teachers. Marcus watched his former teachers' faces as they realized what he'd done. Mrs. Chen from math class, whose mouth hung open in disbelief. Mr. Harrison from 5th grade, who'd first called him lazy, now looking uncomfortable. Even his English teacher, Ms. Brooks, who'd failed him just last semester, was staring at the projection screen where EduTrack's interface was displayed. After the assembly, Mr. Rodriguez found Marcus in the hallway. I knew you had it in you, he said, grinning. You were the only one. Not the only one. You knew too. You just needed everyone else to catch up. Over the next week, Marcus received apologetic emails from teachers, awkward conversations in hallways, a handwritten note from Mrs. Chen that said simply, I'm sorry I didn't see what you were capable of. His GPA was still terrible, but the 11 letters of recommendation he'd received were glowing. 3 years later, Marcus Webb sat in a dorm room at MIT, where he'd received a full scholarship. EduTrack was now used in over 2,000 schools across 15 states. He'd open source a code, allowing developers worldwide to improve and adapt it. He'd also started a nonprofit that taught coding to students labeled unmotivated or lazy, kids who, like him, learned differently and needed someone to believe in them. On his desk sat a framed report card from 5th grade, the one where Mr. Harrison had written lazy in red pen. Marcus kept it as a reminder. Labels say more about the people assigning them than the people receiving them. His phone buzzed. An email from a teacher in Ohio. EduTrack helped me identify a student who's struggling but brilliant, just like you were. Thank you for building this. Marcus smiled and got back to work on his latest project, an AI system that could identify students' learning styles and adapt curriculum accordingly. They called him lazy. They'd been wrong. And now, every single day, they used what he'd built. The irony was perfect. The justice was sweet. And Marcus Webb, the lazy kid who supposedly couldn't apply himself, was just getting started.